TSM has 9 employees left. That was the shocking revelation revealed by the org's former social media manager after he was let go by them this week. More than ever, people are asking, what the hell is going on with TSM? So yeah, in one of the more bizarre sentences I'll be saying this year, TSM allegedly has just 9 employees at the moment. That's according to Duncan Cox, their now former head of social media, who announced he'd been let go by the org this week on the anniversary of his 5th year working with them. And all of this comes less than a year and a half after TSM announced they had outgrown their current offices and would be moving to a new 25,000 square foot space to accommodate their growth. At the time, their COO Walter Wang had told CoStar News that their headcount as a company had grown from roughly 45 people to 110 during the pandemic. In 2022, Forbes declared TSM to be the most valuable esports org in the world, valued at $540 million. They gave a few reasons for that assessment, the same reasons that many people thought TSM would be somewhat resistant to the esports winter that has seen a massive reduction of investor money. And they're also the same reasons people have been shocked to hear this week that they've been reduced to just 9 employees. In what may now feel like a distant memory, TSM was at one point seen as somewhat of a blueprint for a successful esports org. A lot of orgs drew inspiration from them as they began to grow a massive fan base, create engaging content, dominate the LCS, and succeed in other esports. And eventually, as a company, they weren't just relying on esports as they began to diversify their portfolio. In 2018, they acquired the gaming analytics platform Blitz that helps players assess their performances in games like League. That went on to become the company's bread and butter, helping to subsidize their esports operations, which, as many orgs can tell you, are basically just money furnaces with cool logos. Of course, TSM was never going to be completely immune to the esports recession we've seen in recent years, but how did it come to this? How did it get to the point where there are supposedly now just 9 people on their payroll? Well, for some people, a lot of this comes down to 3 little letters: FTX. In June 2021, TSM entered into a sponsorship agreement with cryptocurrency exchange platform FTX. The deal was reported to be valued at $210 million and was set to extend over a decade. But of course, it barely managed a single year. Filing for bankruptcy in November 2022, FTX attributed their collapse to internal errors. Allegations of misappropriation of customer funds were leveled against them, which culminated in the arrest of their CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried. Quick side note, he was supposedly a TSM fan himself, and some people have found it a little bit ironic that he may have caused them so much damage. TSM announced they had suspended their partnership with FTX, but assured the world they were still strong, profitable, and stable, and that this would not affect their esports operations. But many have hit X to doubt on that in the time since, suspecting that TSM took a big financial hit when FTX went under. One which they've struggled to recover from and which might explain, at least in part, the current situation they supposedly are in. TSM has been noticeably scaling back their esports operations since their FTX heyday, and the elephant in the room has to be the absence of a League of Legends team, once an absolute core of their identity. In March last year, Sports Business Journal reported that TSM would be pausing their esports efforts in several titles and selling their LCS slot. This was followed shortly after by TSM announcing they would be departing from the LCS and relocating their league team to a Tier 1 region, and that their ultimate goal was still to win Worlds. Spoiler alert, that rebirth in another region never happened. Fans thought they might hear something by the end of the summer, but no. Then they thought there might be an announcement when the season ended, but that came and went. Finally, with all major leagues well underway this month and TSM noticeably absent from all of them, fans began to speculate that their League of Legends team was simply finished. And what TSM fans have really wanted, even their morbidly curious critics at this point, is an official statement from CEO Reggie. If there's one thread that can be drawn through so many of TSM's struggles in recent years, it's a lack of reliable communication. Perhaps even worse, Reggie himself has announced plans and promised to do AMAs with fans which simply haven't come to fruition. In fact, less than 2 weeks ago, former head of social media Dunk himself had confirmed that Reggie would be giving him an update on their esports operations, which would be shared imminently with TSM fans on Reddit and their Discord. But now, with even Dunk gone, it really feels like like Reggie might be running out of people to even deliver a statement for him. The more pressing question perhaps is, has he run out of time? This week I've seen droves of TSM fans on their subreddit announce that this really is the last straw, that after years of support and patiently waiting for some communication about the org's future, they finally had enough. Some have even called on Reggie to straight up sell the org to try and salvage at least some credibility and hope for fans. And let's not forget that even TSM's financial struggles were overshadowed at times by reports that TSM and Blitz were toxic workplaces and that Reggie was a volatile CEO who verbally abused his staff at times. TSM conducted an internal investigation and concluded that while there was no unlawful conduct from Reggie, his feedback to employees could be characterized as having an aggressive and harsh tone. Riot launched their own investigation and said they'd found a pattern and practice of disparaging and bullying behavior by Reggie, including verbally abusing players and staff and communicating in a demeaning and belittling manner. It's almost become a bit of a cliche to talk about the downfall of TSM, how great they seem to look in that 2015 to 2018 golden era, and compare that to where they are now. But every time it feels like everything has been said, we get hit with news like we've had this week. The deal collapse, the allegations of verbal abuse, the withdrawing from esports, the absence of their League of Legends team, and now the news that TSM has just 9 employees left. And one of them is Reggie, and it looks like he has a lot of explaining to do here, because as one Redditor put it this week, it looks like this is the way TSM ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper.